Hello, welcome to my new add-on, the NS Brick Wall Builder. I'm going to show you very quickly how to get started, and then I'm going to go through everything. You can either open the blend file that you can download in the download section, which will have all three materials, or just append the materials and make sure those materials are in your scene. I'm just going to check mine are just by adding a plane. So yeah, you need NS brick wall, NS mortar, NS quoin. They're in a blend file you can download, or you can just append them into a new scene from that file. All right, so we got the materials because the add-on needs those materials. Make sure you've got your add-on installed in preferences. You want to install and then click point to the NS Wall Builder zip file, and it will be in, and then it will appear over here with the NS Wall Builder. So it's important first to have the materials, but it's also important to have this, which is the wall curve. And when you open the add-on, you see you've got straight mode and a curve mode, because it turns out it was incredibly difficult to put both in the same script. So there is a separate straight script and a separate curve script, and this add-on targets both. So under wall curve, you need a wall curve. So the way I built it to edit is, there's several ways to do this, but I just added a plane. I tabbed into edit mode, selected all, and then you've got it's in my mesh merge at center, and we get one vertex. That's the way I've always done it. It's probably an easy way, but that's the way I do it. And then this will become the basis of the curve. So I'm going to just, if I was to build a wall, let's say it's 4 meters across on the X, which is that, and then let's say it turns and goes 2 meters on the Y, and then EX, let's go 6 meters on the X. So that's the curve that I've built for my scene. What's you can do odd values like 3, 5, but though I've tested it on 3s, 5s, 7s, and it seems to work fine, I can't guarantee, because in order to get the corner behavior to work, it needed to be doubles, multiples of 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, da-di-da. By all means go with 3, but see what happens. But as I say, it's been built specifically for even length curves, only in straight mode. It doesn't matter at all in curved, but in straight mode. All right, so once you've got your curve ready, or at least the edges ready, you want to convert this to a curve. So object convert mesh curve. Sorry. Now you'll see it's the signs changed, its image thumbnails changed. So now that is a curve, and all we need to do is put that into here. And the second we do that, we'll get a nice straight wall. Doink. All right. And if we go into viewport, edit, render mode, it's targeting the materials. So we've got everything set up. This is just from the last setup I had. So whilst that's in place, you can go ahead and pick any pattern. It will just restart, regenerate a new wall. It will keep the majority of your settings. Point of note, basketweave takes a little bit longer, I think, because it's just a bit more complex to do, I guess. So, I mean, that's just, don't worry about how it looks. It's because I've got all my settings wrong. In fact, if I delete this, it's going to delete that wall. All right, because I just want to get this back to a standard so I can explain everything. We don't want that. We don't want that. Again, I'm going to explain all of this in a moment. That'll do. All right. Yep. And yep. Okay. So I'm just going to drop that back in and generate another one. I'm going to drop that back in and generate another one. And we'll come back to editing the shape in a second. Just going through the patterns, and then quoin. And this one, this was a beast to get right. This at every end and corner, it will add these quoin bricks, which have a separate material. If you see, if I click on this in the material properties, you've got NS brick wall and NS quoin there, because we're up with quoin. So let's go from the start, and let's just build and then go through it bit by bit. I'm going to just let's just go through it. Let's say you started like this. All right. Let's say I just want a nice standard wall. So we'll go to the first drop down, dimensions. So the first one is rows. So this will just tell us how high you want the wall. So if we put, I don't know, 20 in the rows, it makes it a bigger wall. but just for speed, I'm just going to put it down to 10. So we've got 10 rows. All right, cell size. This was kind of, most of this was built on a grid kind of basis using 2-meter cells. So if we bring this up to 0.3, it's going to just make the whole thing larger, you see, and then it starts to get a bit strange. That would be to do with brick depth, but I honestly never mess with that. I leave it at 0.2, and if I want a bigger wall, I'll just scale it up, you know, or just add more bricks, whatever. So that's what cell size does. Brick gap, that's fairly self-explanatory, 0.01. Just makes them all closer together, doesn't it? Let's put that 0.02. Oh, wrong one. Brick gap 0.02. So yeah, that just changes the access to the mortar. Brick depth 0.2. Just makes it fatter. Strange thing going on there. I'll have to look at that. All right. So yeah, that's just changes it, and it is built to sort out the corners depending on brick depth. The higher you go, it's supposed to, and it does, thankfully, it keeps this. This was very difficult to do, get this corner behavior. A lot of nudgings, but I tend to leave that at 0.2 or 0.1. I don't really build too much that goes above that, and just kind of like standard and brick shaped. Seed, that's obvious. Press 2, you get a different seed, a different variation. The wall flip, I've only put this in for one particular reason, and I'll show you that reason. So if I take this curve, and I'm just going to now extrude that on -x by 4, and then extrude -y by 2, and then extrude -x by 2. So now I've built a wall. I better separate that, otherwise it's going to mess up. All right, so now I've built a wall in the opposite direction, and you'll see what happens when I drop this plane on there. As you can see, the wall is on the wrong side, so if I click wall flip, it will come to the other side. But the caveat is that the corner behavior does not work properly when you're building it negative. So my suggestion, don't build negative. That's the simplest way to do it. Build your walls in positive directions, and you'll never need to use that, and it will never be an issue. Bosh. All right, better generate a wall again, hadn't I? It's oh, I've put the wrong plane. Which one is this? Plane, just plane. All right. So next box drop down is bricks. That is fairly self-explanatory, I think. In fact, let's just put a coin pattern in so you can see the difference with the coin color. So you've got brick color, blah, blah, blah. Brick color so that's coin color. There you go. That's explained. All right. Brick color variation. It just darkens. It just adds different shades to different bricks, so you can have a bit more color variation there. Mortar color at the moment is at the back. I can't really see it, so but that's white. Do whatever you want. The dirt color, this here, dirt amount at 0. There's no dirt. I've called it dirt. Could be dust. I don't know. But this you can add. Again, it adds a bit more variation. And there's one cool thing about the texture actually, which I'll show you in a minute because it'll be clearer. Ambient occlusion, put it up if you want. Just darkens around it, but it does weird things at the back there. Maybe not. All right, bricks done. Mortar. I've just realised mortar colours in 2 places. I'll remove that. Displace mortar colour. That I did add displacement. I might put that back in. It's not there now, but don't worry. All right. Mortar depth. So that's just, as you say, that's just going to change the depth of the mortar behind. I seem to have disconnected the wall somehow, so I'm just going to delete that. It'll keep all my settings, unless there's an issue with mortar depth, which was working earlier. Yep, brilliant. For the moment, it will work in the add-on, don't worry, I'll figure it out, but you can change the mortar depth. It's got a bevel modifier. If you wanted to bring it closer, lower the brick depth, put it back to 0.1. That will be connected when I finish this video. That's mortar. Right, jit and variation is what I call the fun part. So this is where you can really mess around with the shape of the bricks. So we will need a bit more depth for depth variation, not to put walls into the wall. So we're going to go back to dimensions and let's give it a bit more brick depth. Let's go to 0.2 this time, so that we'll see the depth variation better. And then just a variation, depth variation 0.3. Too much. 0.1. I mean, you see what's happening. It's randomly varying the depth of the bricks. That's what that does. Scale variation, you'll be surprised to learn, is a variation of the scale of each brick. So you can see some have got smaller, some have got bigger. Again, it's all about keeping it varied and more natural. These are the fun values. The one I use, well, actually, no, I use all of them, but probably less the X. So rotation Y, if we put 5 on that, we'll get random variation on the Y-axis. If we put Z, you would be surprised to learn it does it on the Z-axis. But I found that high values for Z, if you really want variation, because if you look from the top, you can see how they're all going a bit funny. I mean, with coin pattern, it gets a bit weird. Like, maybe don't do this with coin, but you're only getting the gist. And damaged bricks amount. So this, let's talk about cracked bricks amount first. So this refers to the bump, and there are filters for both of these in the aptly named drop down filters. So if I put cracked bricks amount all the way to the top, I set this up on purpose that it completely removes every other bump and just leaves you with the crack bump. If you lower it a little, you see you bring the rest back in, but you're still keeping the cracks. So if you didn't want this bump at all, you would just go to bump and then lower the strength. You know, if you wanted a bit cleaner bricks. But that seems to be the easiest way. So crack bricks amount. And this is the point I can show you the cute part of my texture. You'll notice that the cracks, they're wave textures, obviously, but they're independent on each brick. It's not consistent, so you're not getting the wave crack going all the way down. Each brick is assigned to a different area of the texture, hence how we get this individual cracked bricks rather than consistent crack up the middle and waves, you know what I mean? Just thought I'd point that out because it's cute, but I like a little bit of bump. Okay. Damaged bricks amount is regarding displacement. So if we put that up to 1 for now, and then head into displacement, we now have two things, but we'll go to material displacement first. So material displacement is this stuff that the material group is using. So but we also want subdivisions. At the moment, the bricks have only got one level. To really see it do something and not look really strange, we want at least 3, and then that's way too much strength, so I can either lower the strength or lower the damaged bricks amount. So I'm going to put that to 0.5, and it just messes them up a little bit. So that's damaged bricks amount. You've got mid-level, you've got strength, but I wouldn't bother messing with that, just strength. It's there if you want it though. So the displace modifier, if what we'll need, because it does puff out the bricks a little, is we'll want a bigger gap between the bricks. So brick gap, I'm going to go crazy at 0.05. And then when we go back to displacement, by the way, I'd get into the habit, I'm trying to teach myself to get into this habit of closing a box, because if you've got them all open, it gets long. So displacement modifier, tick that, and it will add a displacement modifier. And you see what it's done, it's kind of puffed out the bricks. It's the only way I could really get this to look correct. But you've got the strength here, 0.03. Maybe I'm going to go 0.02. You don't really see much now, but I might. But then you've got the filters again. We'll get to the filters in a second. But I'm going to put that back to 0.03. 26. 0.026. That'll do. So as you can see, it just wobbles the bricks a little, and it makes them look incredibly damaged. And right, so now we can look at the filters. So let's leave the displace modifier on and then go to filters. And these are for, so the dirt damage, they're connected. So if I put dirt back into bricks, dirt amount, That's way too much. So in the filter, fortunately, so this is the scale of the dirt and the damage filter. So when this changes, the damage will also change. So if I put that up, you can see how it's all moving together. You've got scale width and scale height. You can just play with these values. They're just filter values, standard noise filter values you can muck around with. But if you didn't want that much, just lower the amount. All right, and if we now turn off material, let's turn off both of these so I can easily show you the cracks as well. And I don't want damaged bricks, which would be in jitter variation. Damaged bricks, don't want that. Let's crank that up to 1 so it's just the cracks. And then you see under filters, this is the crack filter. So you can play around with that as well. And again, this is all, it's probably a wave filter. I can't remember what I did. And just play with the values, muck around with them. You know what I mean? That's the filters. I'm going to bring my brick variation. I want my brick bump back a little. That's better. Is that all jitter? Yes, done that. So done that. Done filters. Bevel. Does it need much? It's a bevel modifier. And that's what that does. It's coupled, obviously, with a subdivision surface. In the modifier stack, if I click on the bricks, this is the stack. So the subdiv comes after the bevel. The bevel's there to keep the brick shape. The subdiv is to add enough resolution for, material displacement, da-di-da. So yeah, that's the bevel. That all obviously is standard, as if you know what a bevel is. And the bump, there you go, straight. And then the quoin has a separate bump strength. So if you wanted really clean quoin bumps, you would just turn it off. It's separate to the main brick bump. Okay, now let's say I'm happy with that wall. I think, yeah, that's it, bruv. Then I want to unlink this from the UI, because if I wanted to make another completely different wall in the same scene, unless it unlinks, it will all stay connected. So the wall will just snap back here, the colors, whatever. So what you want to do is click make single. And unlike sapling, you can click anywhere, click about, it doesn't disconnect. It's only disconnected fully when you click make single. And then if you want to move that wall over here or something, now we can do very quickly a curve. So delete that and change that to curved. And we're just going to simply put in a Bezier curve, and just on that. And then we'll put coarse rubble. Actually, it's slightly different in the curve version. So drop that in there, and there we go. So we've got coarse rubble. It's because the dimensions, it's just keeping the ones we just set. Everything stayed the same, but again, you can see this is completely disconnected. Nothing I do here is going to affect the other wall we made. I think that's the lot. Yeah, so build wall, that doesn't make single. When you're happy with the wall, make sure you click make single, and then it will be successfully disconnected from the wall. That's the lot. There are going to be more additions to this. I'm planning on updating this. I'm going to find more patterns to add. I'm going to look at adding functionality if you wanted the brick to go at an angle, which I did already do a while back, but I lost it through lots of edits. That's the lot. That's the important one to make single, to disconnect it after you're done. All right, sweet. That's the lot. I hope I've said that twice. I hope that's enjoyable. I hope you enjoy using the thing. Yeah, the curve has got all the same patterns. Don't worry about it. You can flick and change. All right, sweet. Enjoy. You've been you. Bye.